Blizzard just showcased all of the new Diablo 4 content coming with the expansion. We got gameplay of the new raids, which is like the Dark Citadel. We have the new seasonal mechanic has been announced, showcase, and we got gameplay of that as well. We also have a new mechanic, Kurast Undercity, which is explained with like tributes, allow you to target rewards, etc. So let's break it all down. First bit of a reminder, here's the times for the launches. It's October 7th if you are on the western side. So we're talking 4 p.m. Pacific, October 7th for the launch of the game. The new seasonal mechanic is called the Realmwalker, which is basically this portal that gets summoned and a giant dude starts walking around. He pops out of the ground. Here's the big boy. He's going to summon minions as you follow him around. He's invulnerable for a while. Then you kill him. He drops a portal that you go in which you select which reward you actually want to get out of this portal. Then you basically blast through an instance and get your reward that you selected at the end. Here's an example of the rewards that you're going to get. These are basically stackable with experience potions, so you can get more multiplicative experience gains here as well. And these are basically ramp-up drops you get from monsters. So gold, equipment, herbs, and crafting materials. And these two give you gem fragments and runes. And then this one, the Opal of Torment, is going to be interesting. Gives you boss summoning items and Inferno compasses. Sure, that will be a favorite. There was a funny meme segment of Blizzard when they showcased, this is basically what the loop looks like. The dude comes out of the ground, you go in the portal, you kill a bunch of mobs, you get your rewards, you do it over again. They also announced the Undercity, which, as they explain, is an intense multi-floor time attack dungeon. This allows you also to target rewards through things called tributes that you use when you open up this area. And these tributes will allow you to apply modifiers where your legendary armor, for instance, will always possess at least one skill rank affix, or your legendary amulets will always have at least one passive rank. These are examples of the types of things that you can use to specifically target what type of loot you're trying to get. They mentioned during the dev update livestream that they're trying to apply agency to the player, basically let the player deterministic be able to select what they actually want to accomplish a little bit more than previously. So it basically looks like this. You have these tributes, you put in these tributes here, and then you can further customize your rewards depending upon what you're looking for. At that point, you will be inside a time attack mode. Now, as you kill monsters, you're gaining the time bonus, so you can continue to go. You can see there's the timer up there in the top right. There's different tiers, 1, 2, 3, 4. So depending upon how good you're doing, you'll get reward upgrades. As long as you just clear the first tier, you're guaranteed at least to get your reward. Then you will fight this boss at the end, or there will be different bosses depending upon basically which of these Undercities you're doing. And what's cool about these is these actually have unique mechanics. It's new bosses with unique mechanics. So for instance, he's got a red ring around him, so he's only immune to the red damage. So he needs to stay on the red. He stayed in the green there and took damage. Get to the red. He was in the green again, took damage again. So that's sort of how that works. This is the only Undercity they showed during the segment, but I'm sure there's more of these. And they showed examples of tributes, so you can get everything from rewards for guaranteed runes all the way up to uniques and an increased chance for mythic uniques, so you can really target what you're looking for. There's also modifiers that only the solo player gets the reward, or there's ones they stated personally that will allow you to do a party as well. So this is not just solo content. They also showed this new kind of troll goblin. They call it the Portal Prankster. The Portal Prankster will go in and out a bunch of different portals, basically making it difficult to target him since you're in a time attack, but will give you bonus rewards at the end of the run. Now we get to one of the better parts, what my personal favorite of this update is, which is the in-game raids, the Dark Citadel. It has multiple wings. In fact, here's the image that they show. There's 3 different wings to this. There's the Enclave of Strife, there's the Labyrinth of Souls, and you have your final one, the Dominion of Zaghrul. Now, they stated very clearly, this is sort of the in-game pushing content, but this is also not solo player. You have to do this in a minimum of 2 people. They actually showed footage of why. You have one player that goes to like the other side here and is fighting to complete whatever objectives happening there, and then you have another player staying on the other side, and each person kind of has to do their own thing. So this is something where you're going to not need communication, but they say communication may help. More importantly, however, it looks like actual boss fights with actual mechanics outside of just tank and spank and try to avoid damage. There's other things you actually have to do, making this more complex than an average boss fight. They even show one portion where you have to like run through a maze here and grab a barrier. Now you're probably thinking, okay, this is pretty cool. There's raids. Well, with raids come good rewards. Are they going to be locking out anything specific only to this? Maybe you're a solo player who doesn't like the idea of playing in a party. So in order to have the strongest character possible, am I going to have to play in a party? The answer is no. They show the weekly rewards here, and these are basically just buffs. So the instances, increase all stats for all yourself and nearby players, increased experience, increased healing. Your next core skill heals you, for instance. These are temporary elixir buffs and scrolls. So like drop health potions and restore health, or used to restore all temporary charges, for instance, on an item. But when you might be looking at that and being like, temper charges, okay, well, that does influence my gear. Well, the temper charges scroll is actually going to be given to you too throughout seasonal content, and it looks like it's not locked only. They mentioned this on the previous chat. It's not locked only there. So if you see that and you're like, that's actually something useful that can be used for my gear, you don't have to only get that within the Dark Citadel itself. They also showed armor. So there is armor and mount that you can get. This is for defeating the Dark Citadel in Torment Tier 4, meaning there is locked behind cosmetics that are only for achieving the highest difficulty of the new in-game content. It's cosmetic armor only, however. So there are bragging rights, for instance. Here's an example of it on the Barbarian. There's one on the Necromancer. There are bragging rights, but there is not gear power associated with progression in the Citadel. This is probably a good way to balance this, because if there was power locked behind it, you're going to piss off a lot of the solo players. A lot of people play Diablo by themselves, and that's just how they like to play it. However, you have to have some kind of reward, or else what's the purpose of doing it? So the cosmetics are a good middle ground for that. Now, that's not everything. They also kind of reiterated some of the previous information. They went over Mercenaries again and discussed there's mercenary skill trees. There's a bartering system that will help you acquire different legendary aspects or boss summoning materials, and each one of these mercenaries have their own role to fill. They also talked about balance updates. For instance, some classes got buffs, some got some things fixed, or it might end up being a nerf. For instance, the Druid, Nature's Fury, got fixed. It was proccing too many times, apparently. So if you're a druid like me, it looks like 17 damage is back on the menu, boys. They did, however, do some other changes to items. For instance, the non-ancestral gear, what they did was allow masterworking now go up to 8, and also you can temper them twice. Previously, this was only applicable on ancestrals. They also made it where the unique item drop chance is tripled for ancestral. So now you're not getting as many basically dog uniques. You'll be getting much more greater affix ancestral uniques. Also, there's some changes in difficulty. The TLDR is basically, it's a little bit harder. So Torment 4, they have a philosophy here where Torment 1 unlocks the whole game. Once you're just in Torment, you can do the whole game. There's nothing, I repeat again, there is nothing that is locked behind Torment 2, 3, and 4. That is aspirational content that becomes more difficult, and your reward for doing it, because it is more difficult, is you will acquire more items in terms of quantity. So you're going to get more of them. More often, they'll be higher quality. Basically, you get more drops. And because you're getting more drops and more experience, you'll grind through your Paragon levels better, and you have better opportunity to acquire more materials. But that's it. If you only get to Torment 1, you can still play the whole game. Well, I say that, but then Torment 4, clearing the Dark Citadel, gives you those cosmetics. So keep that in mind. They kind of retooled some of the Paragon board too. They were saying there was too much power behind legendary gear, so they basically nerfed the Paragon board, but in exchange made it a little bit easier to fill out the Paragon board to apply things like if you have a rune that needs more dex, well, there's going to be more dex around. They tried to make it a little bit easier for you to fulfill the requirements of your glyphs, but also lowered the ceiling a bit on the glyphs, because they said the glyphs were just too strong and made your gear feel not as relevant. This is part of the reason what I'm talking about it's going to be just a little bit more difficult. Like your damage is a little bit nerfed. Between that and the time it takes to acquire like the materials, etc., your game time in the game to get to like ultra in-game is going to be significantly longer than you're probably used to. There were some buffs to the Inferno Hordes, basically just better rewards, guaranteed unique from the boss kills now, as well as you no longer have to like spam as many times to get through the chests. Also changes to Mythic Unique crafting. So now you can literally make a Mythic Unique. 2 sparks gets you a random one. So just playing through the season journey, killing Lilith, basically just playing the game through Torment 1, you can get yourself a Mythic Unique. Very guaranteed. It's not going to be too hard to do that. However, if you add in a set of runes with those sparks, now you can specifically choose the mythic unique you want to get. You can also still gamble one resplendent spark plus the runes to get one. AKA, you're not going to sit there and just wait for the mythic unique drop. You now have a deterministic guaranteed path to acquire a mythic. At the blacksmith, you can also generate legendary gear using common materials. You can forge random legendary gear as well. So it'll help you it's almost like oboe gambling, help you get some of the aspects maybe you're missing. They also touched on rune words. They did some changes. So they buffed some of the ones that they felt like are underperforming, like the Spirit Wolf, the Meteors, the Spiritborn Vortex. Like, they actually buffed more than this. These are just some examples that they showed. They're basically shrinking the ceiling and raising the floor. So what do I mean? Well, myself and basically everyone else who came out and made videos when we talked about the PTR changes with the Rune Word edition was that everyone's just going to use the Barbarian Cry plus the Druid Petrify. I mean, why would you not use that? So they actually removed Berserking from the War Cry unless you're a Barbarian, and then the Druid no longer gets, or the Petrify no longer gets the critical strike damage from the Rune version. It goes just back to the normal Druid version. So for that reason, they're basically nerfing the best ones, and they're trying to make the more dog ones a little bit better. They kind of meet in the middle. Their concept is all of them should at least have some use, case use literally somewhere, instead of just being completely worthless. And they also said they just removed some of the ones that they felt were like literally doing nothing. Anyway, that's really about it for the update and everything you need to know from that dev update live stream. It was basically 2 hours plus, so I condensed it down. Hope you have a good one. Subscribe if you want more Diablo 4 related content.